The outpost woke to tension the next morning. Holt knew at the moment he stepped into the control room. The air felt heavier. The scanners pulsed faster. The silence outside the station was no longer peaceful. It felt like the quiet before a distant storm. Lysara entered soon after, her markings glowing faintly with alertness. "I sensed something while I rested," she said. "The rebels may be closer than we think." Holt checked the long-range monitor. At first, nothing appeared. Then a flicker small and sharp crossed the scanner. Another flicker followed. Then a third. "Ships," Holt whispered. Lysara stepped beside him, her expression tightening. "3 vessels. Fast. Their pattern is the same as the group that attacked my ship." Holt did not hesitate. He pressed several switches, powering the outpost's defensive systems. The old station shook slightly as cannons activated. Echo 72 was not built for war, but Holt had reinforced it over the years just in case. Every plate he repaired, every circuit he rebuilt, now all of it mattered. Lysara studied the readings. "They will arrive in minutes, then we prepare," Holt said calmly. She gave him a look filled with respect. "You face danger with steady hands." "That's all I have," he replied with a small smile. Together, they moved quickly through the outpost. Holt checked power lines and shield generators. Lysara linked her wristband to the defense interface, boosting the targeting system with her advanced energy control. The outpost hummed like a giant machine waking from long rest. As they worked, Holt felt no fear, only purpose. For 20 years he had waited for something meaningful. Now, protecting Lysara and defending the outpost gave him a reason to stand stronger than ever. Suddenly, the alert siren echoed through the station. "They're here," Lysara said. Holt rushed to the control window. 3 sleek ships slid out of the darkness, blue flames trailing behind them. They flew in a tight formation, circling like predators testing their prey. "They know I survived," Lysara said quietly. "They will not leave without finding me. Then we make sure they leave empty-handed," Holt replied. The first enemy ship fired a warning shot, sharp, bright, and fast. It hit the side of the outpost, shaking the corridors. Holt grabbed the console and stabilized the shields. "They're testing our strength," he said. "Let them," Lysara answered. Her voice steady. She touched the defense panel, and her markings flared brighter. The targeting sensors sharpened instantly. "You upgraded our accuracy," Holt said in surprise. Double quotes, "Yes," she replied. "Your weapons are old, but your systems are strong. With my energy, we can guide them better." Holt aimed the first cannon, focusing on the nearest ship. "Then let's give them a welcome," he fired. A beam shot across space, striking the enemy ship's wing. Sparks burst out, and the ship spiraled slightly before stabilizing. "They weren't expecting resistance," Lysara observed. "Good," Holt said. "Let's keep surprising them." But the rebels adapted quickly. All 3 ships opened fire at once. Explosions shook the outpost, lights flickering on and off. Holt braced against the console while Lysara strengthened the shields. "Holt," she called. "We must divert power from the lower decks." "Do it?" Lysara pressed her hands against the panel. Her markings glowed intensely, lines of light running from her arms into the console. The shield readings jumped higher, absorbing the next wave of fire. Holt's eyes widened. "You're giving your own energy to the shield?" "Yes," she said breathlessly. "It's the only way to keep us safe. Don't push yourself too hard." She looked at him with a faint smile even in the chaos. "You stood 20 years alone. I can stand a few moments of strain." Their teamwork became seamless. Holt controlled the weapons with precision. Lysara enhanced the shields and provided extra power to targeting systems. Together, they fought like the halves of one mind. The enemy ship swooped closer, preparing to dock. Holt quickly activated the boarding defenses, sealed metal doors, pressure traps, and shock barriers he had built over the years. The station was old, but Holt had turned it into a fortress. "They're trying to force an entry," he said. "I can stop them," Lysara replied. She rushed to the hallway and placed her hand on a generator. Her energy moved through the circuits, locking every door even tighter. The enemy ship extended a grappling arm trying to attach to the outpost side. Holt turned the outer cannon toward it. "Not today." He fired a direct shot. The grappling arm exploded, breaking into glowing fragments. The enemy ship veered away sharply, engines shaking. "One down," Holt said. "Two to go." Lysara replied. The second ship fired a concentrated beam at the main shield. Lysara pressed her palms to the shield console, pouring more energy into the barrier. Holt saw her breathing grow heavier. "Lysara, enough. You'll hurt yourself," he warned. "I'm fine," she said. "Keep fighting." Holt returned to the controls, shooting at the second ship. His aim was strong, guided by instinct honed over years of silent training. He struck the engine. The ship spun uncontrollably, then rocketed into space, unable to stabilize. "It's retreating." Holt shouted. Lysara exhaled in relief. "You are remarkable, Holt." Before Holt could reply, the final ship soared upward, positioning itself above the outpost. "That one is the leader," Lysara said. "They won't run." Holt's mind focused sharply. "Then we take them down." The leader ship fired 3 powerful blasts. Holt dodged the first, blocked the second. But the third hit the shield so strongly the outpost shook like a struck bell. Lysara staggered, catching herself on the console. Her energy flickered. "Lysara." Holt reached toward her. "I'm all right," she said, though her markings dimmed slightly. The leadership prepared another strike. Holt had only seconds. "Switch power to my panel," Holt ordered. "All of it? That will leave us unshielded. Just trust me." Lysara looked into his eyes. In them she saw no fear, only fierce determination. She nodded and shifted all remaining power to Holt's weapons console. Lights dimmed across the outpost. The shield faded completely. The enemy ship fired at the exact moment Holt released a full power blast from the main cannon. The shots collided in space to streams of energy smashing into each other. The force lit up the sky like a bright storm. For a moment, time slowed. Then the enemy's beam broke. Holt's blast cut through the leadership, piercing its core. A final explosion blossomed silently in the dark sky. The enemy leadership shattered into fragments, drifting away like burnt embers. Silence returned. But this time, it wasn't lonely. It was triumphant. Holt leaned back, breathless. Lysara steadied herself and stepped close to him. For a moment, neither spoke. They simply watched the fading light of the destroyed enemy ship. "You did it," Lysara whispered. "We did it," Holt corrected softly. Her markings glowed again, warm. Steady, alive, she touched the console gently, then looked at Holt with deep, grateful eyes. "You saved my life, again, and you saved mine," he said. "Without you, the shields would never have held." She moved closer, her voice a soft echo. "You stood with me against a threat most would run from. You're not alone anymore," Holt said. "Not while you're here." A quiet warmth filled the room, something stronger than relief, something deeper than simple gratitude. It was a bond shaped by danger, teamwork, and trust. Lysara looked out at the stars, then back at Holt. Her voice was gentle, almost a whisper. "We won today, but this is only the beginning." Holt nodded. "Then we face the future together," and for the first time in 20 years, he felt he truly belonged to something greater than silence. The next morning, Outpost Echo 72 felt different. Holt woke earlier than usual, not because of duty, but because he knew someone else now lived under the same metal roof. After 20 silent years, he found himself listening for footsteps in the corridor, the soft hum of her energy markings, or the light sound of her breathing from the med bay. For the first time in decades, he wasn't alone, truly not alone. He prepared a simple breakfast of tea and dried fruit. He wasn't sure what Lysara ate, but he guessed she might need something sweet to restore her strength. As he waited, he heard a gentle sound from the hallway. Lysara appeared at the entrance of the room, standing with slow steps. She looked stronger today, her silver hair resting across her shoulders and her glowing markings settling into a calm rhythm. "You look better," Holt said, offering a small smile. "I feel better," she replied. "Rest helped, and so did your care." Holt's ears warmed slightly at that. Compliment still felt unusual to him. He handed her the cup of tea. She studied it curiously before taking a small sip. Her eyes widened a little. "This is warm and gentle. It's the best I can make," Holt said. "The plants grow well here." She nodded and took another sip, enjoying the simple comfort. Then she glanced around at the control room. You kept this place alive for so long. Your discipline is impressive. Survival teaches order, he replied. One mistake out here can break everything. Lysara listened carefully. She knew humans were adaptable, but seeing Holt's resilience with her own eyes awakened a new respect in her. He did not merely live here, he made this lonely station a home, and now she was part of it, even if only for a short time. After breakfast, they returned to the hangar. Lysara's ship rested in the center, still scarred from the attack. They built a plan, stabilized the energy core, repaired the navigation panel, and reinforced the hull. Holt had already prepared tools and replacement parts. Lysara brought knowledge of Etherian systems. Together, they formed a perfect balance. As they worked, Lysara found herself watching Holt's hands. His movements were practiced, steady, and careful. He never rushed, never panicked, even when a wire sparked unexpectedly. He simply adjusted his grip and continued. She realized this. Man had lived on the edge of danger for 2 decades and had become a master of calm. You fix everything with patience, she said softly. Holt glanced at her. Patience keeps me alive. And kindness, she added. Not all would save a stranger. I couldn't leave you behind, he said. Life is life. Doesn't matter where it comes from. Her heart warmed again. Humans were known to be bold and emotional. But Holt had something rare, quiet strength. Hours passed as they worked. Lysara's energy markings glowed brighter when she focused, spreading light across the ship's interior. Holt couldn't help glancing at them sometimes. They were beautiful, like rivers of soft light flowing under her skin. But he never stared for too long. Knowing she might misinterpret it, Lysara noticed anyway. She smiled slightly, but said nothing. At midday, they took a break in the greenhouse. Lysara wandered between the plants, touching the leaves with gentle curiosity. You kept the garden alive, she said with admiration. Even when you had no one. It helped pass the time, Holt replied. And it reminded me of Earth. She breathed in deeply. The air smelled fresh. Unlike the metallic halls of the outpost, you protected this place like a guardian. Holt tilted his head. Guardian? In my culture, Lysara explained, a guardian is someone who preserves life even without reward. Someone who stands alone if needed. Holt looked down, thoughtful. Maybe I became one without planning. Or maybe you always were one, she said quietly. For a moment, neither spoke. A gentle warmth filled the air, not from the plants, but from the understanding growing between them. After their break, they returned to work as Lysara repaired a delicate energy conduit. Holt watched her movements. She had an elegance in everything she did. Even tightening a bolt looked graceful. Your markings change color, Holt observed. They respond to emotion and focus, she said. It is natural for my kind. They're peaceful, he said honestly. Her eyes lifted toward him, surprised by the gentle statement. Thank you, Holt. She rarely used his name aloud. Hearing it from her felt strangely comforting. As the day progressed, alarms suddenly blinked on the control panel near the hangar door. Lysara stiffened. A short-range scan detected something nearby. Holt jogged to the console and read the data. A small object, very fast, not a meteor. It could be a probe from the rebels, she said. Then we need to stay hidden, Holt replied. Power down unnecessary lights. He dimmed half the station. Silence covered the room like a blanket. The probe flew past the outpost. They watched it on the screen, small, sharp, and scanning for signs of life. Lysara held her breath. Holt stepped slightly in front of her, almost as if shielding her. Instinctively, the probe drifted, slowed, and then continued on its path, missing the outpost entirely. Only after it disappeared did Lysara finally breathe again. Holt turned to her. You're safe. You protected me, she whispered. You're under my roof, he said gently. That makes us a team. Her markings brightened softly, like an emotional glow. Thank you, Holt. When the danger passed, they continued the repairs. But something had changed. A new trust formed, stronger than before. They no longer moved like strangers working together. They moved like partners who understood each other's strengths. Even their silence felt shared. As evening approached, the last repair of the day involved the navigation panel. Holt worked inside the ship while Lysara calibrated from outside. A wire slipped, knocking Holt slightly off balance. Lysara reacted, instantly reaching through the hatch and steadying him with one hand. "You saved me again," Holt said with a small laugh. "And you keep saving me," she replied warmly. For a brief moment, her hand stayed on his arm. She didn't pull away quickly, and he didn't step back. Their eyes met. The moment was simple, quiet, and full of meaning, but neither needed words. When night cycle came, the lights in the station dimmed again. Lysara joined Holt in the control room, where he always ended his day. She stood quietly beside him, watching the stars. "Do you miss Earth?" she asked. "Every day," he said. "But sometimes I stop thinking about what I miss and just try to keep going." "That is strength," she said softly. He shook his head. "Sometimes it just feels like survival." "Survival is strength too." Her voice was gentle. "But you have something more. You welcomed a stranger with kindness. You protected me. You stand even after 20 lonely years?" "Maybe," he said, looking at her. "But I'm not alone now." Her markings glowed warmer at that. She stepped closer, not too close, just enough that their shoulders almost touched. For someone raised in a disciplined and formal culture, this was a significant gesture. "Holt," she said quietly, "my people don't easily trust others. But I trust you, and I trust you." He replied. Silence followed, but it was a peaceful silence filled with growing connection instead of emptiness. She looked out the window again. "My mission is important, but I did not expect to meet someone like you out here. I didn't expect anyone." Holt said honestly, "But I'm glad you came." Her eyes softened. "So am I." They stood together for a long time, watching the endless stars. Each star seemed like a witness to the beginning of something. Neither fully understood a bond not made from duty, but from shared struggle, shared silence, and shared hope. At last, Lysara spoke. "Tomorrow, the repairs will continue," she said. "And after that," Holt replied, "we help you reach your people." "Yes," she agreed. But her voice held a quiet emotion she didn't explain. Before leaving the control room, she turned one more time, her words soft. "You changed my journey, Holt. I want you to know that." Holt watched her walk down the corridor, her markings glowing faintly like flowing starlight. He realized something true and surprising. The outpost had been silent for 20 long years. But now, because of Lysara, the silence no longer felt like a burden. It felt like the beginning of something new. Lysara woke slowly, as if rising through a deep ocean of dreams. Her vision blurred at first, showing only soft lights and a faint glow round the room. When her eyes finally focused, she saw a ceiling she didn't recognize. The metal reflected pale blue light, and small machines hummed quietly nearby. She blinked, confused. Her last memory was the violent shaking of her ship, the alarm screaming, and then darkness. She pushed herself up slightly, and a gentle voice reached her ears. "You're safe," it said. "Don't move too fast." She turned her head and saw a human man standing beside her bed. His uniform was old but clean. His hair had grown longer over the years, and faint lines shaped the corners of his eyes. His presence felt calm, steady, almost like a mountain after a storm. He took a small step back, giving her space. "My name is Aaron Holt," he said. "You're on Outpost Echo 72. Lysara studied him carefully. She recognized humans from distant reports, but she had never seen one in person. They were said to be resilient, emotional, and unpredictable. Yet this man seemed surprisingly composed, like someone who learned to control even the smallest reaction. Her voice came out soft and airy. "How long have I been here?" "Almost a day," Holt replied. "You were unconscious when I brought you in. Your ship was drifting without power." She lowered her gaze, remembering the attack. The enemy vessel had come without warning. She had tried to escape, but their weapons struck something vital. She remembered the sudden burst of light, then everything went silent. She looked around the room again. Holt had patched the cracks in her armor. He had placed a blanket around her shoulders. He had even cleaned the dirt from her hands. "You helped me," she said quietly. I couldn't leave you there, Holt answered simply. Anyone in your place would deserve a chance. Lysara watched him carefully. His tone carried no pride, no demand for thanks. He behaved not like a hero, but like someone who believed care was a natural duty. She tried to stand, but her legs trembled. Holt stepped forward quickly, not touching her, but ready to catch her if she fell. She steadied herself and nodded. I am Lysara, she said. Envoy of the Etherian court, Holt did not react with fear or excitement. Instead, he simply nodded with polite respect. I figured you were important. Your ship looks advanced. It is, she replied. But it is damaged. Badly. I saw that. Holt took a breath. If you feel strong enough, I can show you around. You should know where you are. Lysara hesitated, then agreed. He guided her through the station. She noted how every corner was spotless, every panel repaired, every pipe carefully sealed. The outpost should have been falling apart after so many years. Yet it functioned like a well-kept home. How long have you lived here alone? She asked softly. Holt paused but answered honestly. 20 years. She stopped walking, staring at him in disbelief. 20 years? With no one? No one, he replied. The last signal I got from Earth was a long time ago. I kept the station running, hoping someone would contact me. But it never happened. Lysara looked around with new understanding. The careful repairs, the spotless floors, the organized tools. Holt had filled his loneliness with work and discipline. Keeping his mind steady in silence, humans were known for their emotional depth. Yet this one had endured to decades of isolation without losing himself. She felt a quiet respect growing inside her. They reached the control room. The large window showed a view of space, calm and endless. Lysara approached the monitors and began examining the readings. You scan for help? She asked. Every day, he said. The scanner was broken for a few months last year, but I fixed it. Lysara connected her wristband to the console. The device flickered, struggling to stabilize. She adjusted a few settings, then accessed long-range data. Her face changed. She read again. Then again. What is it? Holt asked, stepping closer. She turned to him slowly. Your outpost. Reports say it was destroyed. Holt froze. Destroyed? Yes. The Etherian Court believed this station was lost during a border conflict. We assume no human survived. Holt looked away, absorbing the meaning. For 20 years, he believed he was forgotten because of distance or politics. But now, learning the truth, he understood something heavier. The galaxy had already marked him as gone. Does Earth know? He asked quietly. Lysara checked the data. There are no recent human transmissions in this region. Either your communication line is broken or Earth's channels changed long ago. Silence filled the room. Holt felt the weight of years pressing against him. He was not just alone, he had been considered dead. Lysara sensed his quiet pain, and something inside her softened. You survived, she said gently, for 20 years. That is not something many species could do. He gave a small, uncertain smile. Maybe, or maybe I just didn't have another option. Endurance is still strength, she replied. Holt returned to the moment, shaking off the heavy thoughts. Your ship, he said. I checked the damage. It looks like someone targeted your engines. They did, she answered. I was carrying information meant for the Etherian High Council. A rebel faction attacked me to stop that message. Are they still looking for you? Yes, her voice was steady. If they locate this outpost, they will attack again. Holt nodded thoughtfully. Then we need to get your ship working as soon as possible. You will help me? She asked. I don't have anyone else to help, Holt replied with a faint smile. And I'm not letting someone die on my watch. Lysara felt a strange warmth in her chest. She was used to dealing with leaders, warriors, and strategic minds, but Holt was different. He didn't help for reward or political reason. He helped because it was right. They walked to the hangar together. Holt showed her the tools and machines he kept in perfect condition. Lysara inspected the engines, her fingers moving quickly across the hull. You repaired the outer panel, she observed. I tried, he said. Some parts are beyond my knowledge, but I wanted to give you a chance. Her eyes softened. She didn't expect kindness from a stranger, much less from a human living in complete isolation. As they worked, Holt noticed something about Lysara. Her movements were graceful, almost like flowing water. Her glowing markings brightened when she focused. She worked quietly, but with purpose. "You're good at this," he said. She nodded. "My people learn engineering from a young age. Our ships respond to our energy. But right now, mine is weak." Holt tested the power core. "If we stabilize this, you might get short-range flight." "That will be enough," she said. "I only need to reach a relay station." They spent hours repairing the ship. The silence between them was comfortable, different from the heavy silence Holt lived with for years. Sometimes she asked a small question about human tools. Sometimes he asked about her people. Their conversations were gentle and natural, building a bridge between two distant worlds. When the ship powered on for a brief test, Lysara stepped closer to Holt. "You saved me," she said softly, "not just from the crash, but from being lost forever." Holt looked surprised. "I did what anyone would do." "No," she said firmly, "not anyone. Many would fear me. Many would ignore a damaged signal. You did not." He didn't know how to respond. Compliments felt strange after 2 decades alone. But her voice carried sincerity. And he felt something warm inside him, something unused for many years. Night cycle approached. The station's lights dimmed. Stars filled the viewport like scattered diamonds. Lysara stood beside Holt in the control room, looking out into the quiet universe. "You lived 20 years in silence," she said softly. "Yet you still speak with kindness." "Maybe silence teaches patience," he replied. "Or maybe humans are stronger than we believe." She turned toward him, her eyes reflecting the starlight. For a moment, neither of them moved or spoke. Something unspoken settled between them, a connection quiet but powerful. Then a warning light blinked on the console. Lysara leaned forward. "Someone is searching this region. Your attackers?" Holt asked. "It is possible." Holt straightened, his calm expression turning serious. "Then we need to be ready." Lysara looked at him, her voice calm but full of trust. "Then I will stand with you, human." The silent outpost, once forgotten and cold, now felt alive, holding 2 souls moving toward a storm neither could face alone. Commander Aaron Holt had lived alone for so long that he sometimes forgot the sound of another voice. When he first arrived at Outpost Echo 72, he expected it to be a short-term assignment, maybe a year, maybe less. But one miscommunication after another left him stuck on the edge of known space. What began as a temporary mission slowly turned into 20 long years of complete isolation. The outpost itself was not large. It was built like a square metal shell with a central corridor, a small control room, a storage bay, and a greenhouse barely big enough to grow vegetables. Most people would have gone mad living there, but Holt trained himself to stay calm. He cleaned every room, repaired every cable, and kept the solar panels running even when storms covered the sky. Work kept him grounded. Work kept him human. Every morning, he followed the same routine. He woke before the station lights activated. He stretched, made tea from the plants he grew, and walked through the control room to check system reports. He manually scanned the skies for any signal that might break the silence. Some days, the screens flickered with faint patterns of static. Other days, nothing changed at all. He often wondered what Earth looked like now. When he first arrived, he received cheerful messages from his sister, his cousins, and a few friends. But after some political disagreements between human colonies and other species, the communication routes shifted. The signals became weaker, the replies slower. And then, one day, the messages stopped. There was no final goodbye, no warning, just silence. Holt learned to accept it, but the emptiness was heavy. To ease the feeling, he played old recordings, classical music, nature sounds, and archived documentaries. Sometimes he spoke aloud to keep his voice steady, saying things like, "Good morning, Echo 72, or let's run a system check." It wasn't much, but it helped him stay connected to himself during his 20th year alone. On a night that felt colder than usual, Holt noticed something strange. The long-range scanner, which normally rested at a quiet hum, beeped. It was a soft beep, so soft he almost thought it came from the greenhouse or some loose wire. But when he leaned over the console, he saw it, a tiny, broken signal pulsing in the corner of the screen. He stared at it for several seconds, unsure if it was real. The signal was weak and irregular, almost like a whisper in a storm. He activated the scan again, adjusting the sensitivity and recalibrating the antennas. The signal strengthened just enough to show its direction. It came from above the outpost orbit. A ship, a small one, and it was drifting without power. Holt's heartbeat quickened. A ship out here, near a station forgotten by most maps? That was almost impossible. But the scan didn't lie. He rushed to the hangar and activated the manual controls. His hands moved with confidence. Years of practice had made him a master of every tool and machine in the outpost. Outside the hangar, he saw the faint shape of a vessel through the window. It floated like a lifeless shadow, slowly spinning. Holt extended the rescue arm and locked onto the ship. It was light enough for the outpost's old systems to pull in. He guided it through the magnetic entrance, watching as the damaged vessel slid inside with a metallic scrape. The outer doors sealed shut, and the hangar filled with air once again. As the pressure stabilized, Holt grabbed a flashlight and approached the ship's hatch. The metal plating was scorched in several places. Something had attacked it, something powerful. The door was jammed, so Holt used a cutter to pry it open. When it finally gave way, he expected smoke or sparks or maybe even nothing at all. What he found instead took his breath away. A figure lay collapsed on the floor of the small cabin, a young alien woman in damaged armor. Her breathing was shallow, but she was alive. Holt froze for a moment. He had not seen a living being in 20 years. His mind raced through a storm of questions. Who was she? How did she get here? Was she in danger? Would she wake up frightened? He pushed the questions aside and acted. His training spoke louder than his emotions. He knelt beside her and checked her pulse, steady but weak. Her armor was cracked, revealing glowing markings on her skin. They shimmered softly, like patterns of light beneath the surface. Her hair was silver, not from age but from natural color. She looked peaceful despite the damage around her. Carefully, Holt lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than he expected. As he carried her into the medical room, he felt an unfamiliar tension in his chest, a mixture of concern and wonder. It had been so long since he touched another person, so long since he felt this kind of closeness. He set her down on the medbed and activated the diagnostic tools. The machine scanned her quickly, displaying results in a language he didn't fully recognize. But some symbols were universal. Her oxygen levels were low, and her energy patterns were unstable. She needed rest more than anything. Holt placed a blanket over her. It felt strange to do something so gentle after years of mechanical work. He stepped back and studied her face. She looked young but strong, with a calm expression even in unconsciousness. There was something noble about her posture, even while she slept. He sat beside the medbed, unsure what to do next. She was a stranger from an unknown place, but she had come to his outpost for a reason, maybe not by choice, but by fate. The universe was wide, full of countless paths, and somehow hers collided with his. Hours passed. Holt repaired her communicator, inspected her ship, and took notes on the damage. The more he studied the vessel, the more he understood that it belonged to a powerful and advanced empire, one that rarely visited human colonies, one that kept its distance. Why was she alone? Why was her ship attacked? And why did her broken vessel drift toward the one place where a lonely human lived? When her breathing grew steadier and her color improved, Holt allowed himself to relax. He made tea and drank it slowly, watching the quiet rise and fall of her chest. He wondered what she would say when she woke. Would she be frightened? Would she be grateful? Would she even understand his language? He leaned back in his chair, listening to the soft hum of the medical machines. For the first time in years, the outpost felt alive. Not in a loud way, but in a gentle way, like the quiet beginning of a story not yet told. As he closed his eyes for a moment, he heard a faint sound, a breath that wasn't mechanical, a whisper of movement. Holt opened his eyes just in time to see her fingers curl slightly, as if waking from a long dream. She wasn't awake yet, But she was close. Holt stood slowly, his heart beating faster. He didn't know what kind of person she was or what her arrival meant. But one thing was certain. His 20 silent years were over. The universe had finally spoken back, and it spoke through the arrival of a lone, mysterious alien woman who had appeared at the very edge of his forgotten world.